hello everybody. Let me just adjust this. So, thank you very much for inviting me here to this beautiful building and beautiful city. It's a great honor for me to be here presenting this topic. Also, let me thank the Center for Inequality and Open Society, which has a project based on AI and deepfake-enabled fraud, and I'm part of this project. So today I will be talking about this. So, firstly, we will just briefly set the context, and then we will outline the current state-of-the-art fraud techniques. We will divide these two into enhanced frauds, which are the traditional forms enhanced with AI or deepfake technology. And then we will move on to the new types of frauds that these technologies kind of introduce. And then we will be talking about fraud taxonomy, because there is an existing taxonomy by EBA. However, I would actually offer some adjustment to this taxonomy. So, firstly, financial services are undergoing a rapid digital transformation, including extensive deployment of AI. And AI and deepfake is also used in the field of fraud. And it's becoming very popular in this area, and it shifts us from traditional fraud to technology-augmented schemes, and basically proposes high relevance for law, regulation, and supervision. So, as I've already mentioned, the state-of-the-art frauds involves AI, deepfake, and also synthetic identity technologies. When talking about deepfake, is basically AI-generated content that is trying to imitate someone's voice or face. And when talking about synthetic identity, we are talking about created identities that kind of combine real and fake information, which is nowadays kind of easy, given the fact that everybody is on social media and everybody shares everything about themselves. And these types of frauds are very sophisticated, they are very convincing, and that is the reason why I'm talking about this. And they present unprecedented scale. They are extremely accessible and affordable, because nowadays not everybody needs to be a hacker to kind of come up with a convincing fraud. You just need to have a laptop, and that's it. Because even when I was kind of working with ChatGPT and I was asking about the scenarios, give me scenarios of fraud using AI and deepfake, first result was, I cannot do that because that's unethical. But then I was like, I am a researcher and it would be good to just present some examples, and was, okay, in that case, here are the scenarios. And it was as easy as that. And this obviously elevates the threat level. And in 2023, the increase of using these technologies was 780%. And nowadays, it's even higher. Yeah. So why are the financial institutions that are rigid? Well, they rely also on remote work and outsourcing. They propose a recursive attack vector due to the amount of sensitive data and automation of tasks. As I've already mentioned, we've got two types of frauds. That's enhanced versions of traditional frauds, basically frauds that we already came upon, like extortion or phishing, but enhanced with the use of AI and deepfake technologies. And then we've got new types of frauds, typically with the use of synthetic identities and so on. The used methods are typically voice cloning, face swapping, and documentation forgery. These are the most common ones. So when talking about the traditional types, the use of AI and deepfake leads to an elevated level of sophistication and potential impact, because it makes these frauds much more convincing. Typically, it's used to impersonate someone as authority or relative, typically like CEO frauds, CFO frauds, relatives for the use of extortion. Then we've got investment fraud. I believe that probably all of you came upon an ad with a celebrity that was kind of proposing, like, let's invest in this app, it's amazing, I've earned millions, billions of dollars on this, but it's fake. Then again, creating fake websites, QR codes, apps, social engineering. Typically phishing, all forms of phishing use AI and deepfake to enhance the convincing level. Yeah, here you can see some of the scenarios that EBA taxonomy works with. So these are the traditional ones. For example, extortion, fake customer support, fake betting, fake loan. And the problem is that nearly all of these can be enhanced with AI and deepfake, which makes it a huge problem nowadays and even to the future. New forms of fraud use the voice cloning, face swapping, and real-time deepfakes. The real-time deepfakes present a really high risk because it can happen even in a hiring process. For example, the bank is looking for someone typically in IT sector that would be working remotely, and everything nowadays can be done remotely, even the hiring process. We've come upon some of a sort of a funny research where the hiring process was basically deduced, and the employers that were hiring were talking about how difficult it is nowadays to kind of secure the hiring processes. And they were talking about asking the participants to put their hand in front of their face, because that's basically, then basically the filter falls out if there is a filter or anything. Or asking them to sing in the middle of a hiring process, just to be sure that there is no voice cloning on it or anything. And so this leads us basically to making a circus out of a hiring process, which is not the thing that we want to achieve, I believe. And then we've got biometric spoofing and bypass techniques. Again, high risk because up-to-date biometric authentication and everything kind of presented a solution to many of problems in the financial sector, but nowadays, even this can be bypassed by deepfake and AI technologies. So here are some fraud scenarios on top of the EBA taxonomy. These are on consumers. So as you can see, there are some implementation of the scam on yourself, bizarre scams. The implementation of the scam on yourself may lead to the insurance fraud, then fake bank support, again, impersonation of someone, use of synthetic identities, and so on. Then we've got fraud scenarios or corporate entities. The yellow ones presents the one that are on top of the EBA taxonomy, and the rest are the traditional ones. So again, we can see that the new ones could be implementation of the fraud on yourself, or even implementing a fake scam on a competitor. So let's now talk about the most relevant categories of AI frauds. So first one I've already mentioned, AI-enhanced impersonation fraud, which is kind of an umbrella term for many of the frauds, like CEO fraud, CFO fraud, bank staff, and so on. This has already led to a huge transaction that costed companies a lot of money. There has been a case in Hong Kong, I believe it was about $30 million of a transaction, because there has been a video call with a CEO that was not a CEO, and he required a transaction, and it led to the company loss. What are the targets of these types of fraud? Usually the customer authentication or the transaction approval. Here you can see an example of actually not that sophisticated one. As you can see, this is a president of the country that I came from, president of Czech Republic. Why this is not the best example is because there are some mistakes, grammar mistakes in the titles, but basically it is an ad for investment, as I was talking about. But as you can see, it's actually quite a good attempt. And I believe that if you don't understand Czech or if you don't know any of Czech, it may seem pretty convincing to you, even though that it's not the most, not the best example of such a fraud. Then we've got the synthetic identity and hybrid identity fraud. As I already mentioned, this combines the real and synthetic data, usually collected on social media. So again, people should be aware of what types of information they put on social media, because it can be used by fraudsters to make fraud more convincing. And because they cultivate a legitimate banking profile, sorry for that very funny typo, which is even more relevant given the approaching lunchtime, but I meant obviously banking profiles. And also, again, it increases the difficulty of detection of such frauds. It is used to bypass the know your customer processes, the onboarding process, and also to create a credit or a bank account. Then we've got the biometric authentication circumvention. Again, where the fraudsters are basically spoofing facial recognition. They replay a synthesis attack on voice biometrics. There's even AI-assisted liveness detection bypass. That's been believed that this is the solution for a problem of AI and deepfake, but there has been cases that even AI and deepfake can bypass this detection. Again, the target of this is the strong customer authentication and the mobile banking access. And the last, most relevant category is basically phishing and all of its type. So that means phishing, spear phishing, quishing, smishing, and so on. Nowadays, the most convincing and most successful forms are personalized. Fraudsters nowadays prepare for the attack for a longer time than they used to. They're collecting some information about you, and then they perform personalized form of attack, and it appears much more convincing than we used to know. So it doesn't stand that it is strange at first glance no more. So nowadays, you won't receive an email with a poor grammar and poor language capabilities. You will receive a quite good-looking email. And even given the spoofing, you maybe won't even receive it from a weird email address or anything like this. So this poses a significant risk as well. As I've already mentioned, there is an existing taxonomy, and it's EBA taxonomy, which covers a lot of nowadays fraudsters, but it doesn't reflect the state-of-the-art technologies. But still, it is the baseline taxonomy for me, for my work, because it's one of the most complex fraud taxonomy. But it has its own limitation because its primary purpose is just statistics, risk monitoring, and so on. And also, same EBA category can nowadays cover only traditional frauds and it doesn't count with using of the state-of-art technologies. And the taxonomy captures what happened, not how it was technically enabled, which is good, actually, because as we were talking before, we lawyers like to have everything written, but given the technology that evolves so fast, it is not the best approach. However, with these frauds, I do think that they should be added to the taxonomy. So, yeah, and they should mention the technical enablers, execution dynamics, and so on. Also, let me present you the possible categorization of attacks. There are many ways to categorize all the possible attacks, and that is by target, by scope, by method. By method is actually quite relevant for the use of AI and deepfake. As you can see, it mentions AI-enabled attacks. Then by channel and authorization status, the authorization status is one of the huge risks on its own, because when the transaction is authorized, the bank basically has nothing to do for the customer or consumer, because he authorized the fraudulent transaction. Then we can categorize by the perpetrator relation to the organization, by attacker attempt, transaction type, attack vector, and the novelty and use of AI or deepfake. I believe this category should be added to the EBA taxonomy. So it just mentions that there is a possibility of using AI-assisted or AI-driven financial frauds. Okay, so let's move to the conclusion. I do not wish to kind of repeat myself with everything that I've thrown at you, but I believe that there should be probably a change in the decision-making, because nowadays, most of the banks, when there is a dispute between a customer and a bank, kind of say that the liability stands on the side of a customer. But with these types of fraud, sometimes even professionals have problems to detect it. And that's the main issue with these types of frauds, and that's the main point that I wanted to give you today. So thank you for your attention. If you have any comments, questions, I'm open to any discussion during coffee break, lunch break, anything, or you can reach out to me via email. Thank you very much.